Okay, now let's do the next step. So I made a new document. It's my work on laws. That's a new text about Adolf Loos, or with Adolf Loos. So we started with this n-gram research, and then we had the conceptual. Last tutorial we developed a conceptual setup for our text. So this is our text, and Loos can play a role there, a prominent role. He's our main protagonist. So now let's look for the protagonists. So first one is Adolf Loos. So if Loos is fighting the argument in these terms as irresponsible and not responsible. So in the actual world, then we need a protagonist who is just doing having the opposite position. So you can look around. If you look in Wikipedia with Ornament, you directly find, and we can check it now. You directly find, for example, instead of ornament and crime, you see, for example, Sullivan's form follows function. So they are obviously playing together. If we would have a huge library, we could ask the library who is talking. We don't have, though we have to use the internet and the tools there. So internet pretty soon comes up with Sullivan. So now we should ask whether Sullivan might be a good. This is a main character. So now Sullivan. I got 2 books. The Autobiography of an Idea. It's see. So it's a solid book, 250 pages, some pictures, so not too heavy, but a book. And I got this article of Sullivan, where this citation comes from, this slogan comes from form follows function. And it's called The Tall Office Building Artistically Considered, and it's an article of 7 pages. So I both process them and have a mathematical document. Now, like with Loos, now with Louis Sullivan, we can hierarchize that, because we want to. So go put it with this, and then we can make an identity of both texts. So go and create a new. It's Sully. ID is ID text create. So, and it's this book, so we have, like with Loos, we take, for example, 7. So then we have 49 different answers he's able to do. Let's check how it works. So it's not on those, it's not work, books, architecture, Sullivan, chips. Now we lost our display. Okay, now we got it. And if we want to see that, here for example, those now I rebooted the system. Now this loss ID is not defined. We can say loss ID is ID text open, and then we architect loss and we open this text ID, and then it's working again. Now it's working. Take this and do it for Sullivan ID, and it's of a different setup. So this talk between these two figures might be interesting. So let's, for example, check, first save it. This is, so, okay. Now, let's ask ID text heat map of Sullivan loss ID. Now Sullivan is reading loss. So therefore we see we have build set city set, we have Julia, we have river small bridge. Okay, we can check it. Or we can ask Loss what he's thinking about Sullivan. We are here, furniture, create like, modern tattoo, crime. Good, that's interesting. Okay, now let's look what Sullivan is can talk about with laws. For example, we can ask Sullivan about the concept of the ornament. So this will deliver a map like this. So we want to look for all the paragraphs in the library of Sullivan, the identity of Sullivan, where the word ornament appears. So, and this should be clustered in a map of, let's try with 3. And then we have a mode, and this mode should be, we want to have the word identity, the identity of word. So this creates a map with paragraphs containing ornament, the word ornament. So we give that a name, and we want to see that not as code, but in this map. So we need to make that show this. So this is what Sullivan is talking about the ornament. And you see 1, 2, it's very few, so we make a smaller one. So to see what, to get the citations, to get the actual paragraphs, we take this this command of S1. So not Sullivan, but S1. So if we select this, then we get this. So, and there should be this word ornament. Yeah. That's okay. And there, but it looks that here his ornament was influenced by his love of nature. Let's check where it is. And you see, this is the introduction of another author. So it's not Sullivan, and here it's still the introduction. So here it ends, of Marlowe line. Good. So, but it's the same here as well. So Sullivan is not using the concept of ornament, which is interesting and complicated. So because Lewis is using the ornament and is using it, he's offending it. So, and he's trying to criticize it and turning it around. So what can we do? So the next step would be, for example, ask, there's this slogan form follows function dedicated to Sullivan, and let's check how these work in our n-gram viewer. So I did it here, and you see how this works in English and in German. It's nearly the same. So then function arises around 1900. This is what we are interested in. It was earlier in English. In German it goes rapidly here, eruptive. But, and this is a new figure, we didn't see that in with Loos. That what Sullivan is doing is he's trying to change an established concept and giving it a new color. So this is what Loos is not doing. Loos is trying to change the whole story. It's making a puzzle of that. So it has this X form of conceptions. And Sullivan is just taking a concept which is established and trying to give it a new color, just to turn the conception, not to change words. That's interesting. So, and interesting characteristics. So, therefore, and we see that what Sullivan is talking about when assigning this function, it coexists with the responsibility, with erotics, and with economy with Loos, and therefore it somehow correlates with what Loos calls ornament. So we have a similar line, which is an interesting setup. This is what they can talk about the erotics of the function, about the ornamental of the function, even if, and then it's interesting that Sullivan is not using ornament. Now let's have a look, and that's interesting as well, that Loos is not using the word function. So look at this. So take it from here, copy, paste. So now we say Loos1, Loos ID, and we are looking for function. And it's simply absent. That's interesting, huh? So, they, but this is interesting to talk about. Now we found a good common ground and for a discussion of these both. So to summarize, I would say, now we had this research here on Lowe's and on Sullivan's form-follows function. Therefore, I would say we now have two protagonists. The first is Adolf Loos, our main protagonist. I would say it's the European, and he's in psychoanalysis. So if you, you can show, look it up. If you go, for example, in form, on the concept of form, we had it here. Here, if you take the form, which is constant, which is a kind of invariant across all the things Loos and Sullivan are interested in. It's a kind of invariant. So therefore, this might be a common ground. So if you then ask Sullivan for form, there will be more, so we can spread it. So, and three little rows go here, and then, so this is a kind of positive observation from the outside of what is going on. This is what for Sullivan is a form. That's the climate of all these citations. So you can look it up. If you go for form, whereas Loos, but we need a 4. So, and we can make form 1 to English, so Loos 1. Then you go, then you see it's a kind of fight for the right, for the essence of things, of amusement, and of the internal things. So, because Loos is with Vienna, I would simply say the European and the psychoanalysis of form, to make it drastic, observation of form, to make it a first graspable thing they can talk about. So that's with Sullivan. So a third one would be Semper, I think, with the Ornament. There's a lot to tell about the Ornament, and Semper would be the orthodox European historian, and Adolf Loos would be the utopic modernist, in contrast to Semper. So these three are enough to make an interesting conversation. So, but it's too much for these kind of tutorials. I think you get the idea. What I want to show you, what you can do to get the proper citations. So, for example, here, for example, this is a typical Loos thing. Splendid, imitated, splendid wood, artificial painted, corrupted, So this is typical law. So what? Now copy this. You get the link to the original. To keep it, it's here. So copy that, and now paste it. And now we say citations laws. You can edit this one. It's a little laws on form. Take this. Or whatever. It's not so important. It takes time, and it's like a puzzle if you want to set it up. So save it in your work. This is citations laws. Now, and then you can ask Sullivan. We have to do it like this. These are the questions. This is on forms. And then, because you have to get the same hierarchy, you simply say first continue. So now, copy this, say ID text, ask Sullivan ID, and then you simply say give this text and ask him, and say I want to have a 3 sum, but the mode should be the text understanding, so the meaning of the text, because you can't find the citation, of course not. It's just within the within the library of laws, not in Sullivan. But if Sullivan has laws as a book and knows it by heart, then it would work. But therefore, it's a text analysis by meaning, and have this. And give that an S2 and show that, and ID text show. So now these are the answers of Sullivan to this citation of laws. And you see there are several of them. I think just take one, and ID selection S2, and they overlap, and now this might be an answer, but now it's up to you to find proper links. So fabrication, a real product. So yeah, and this works that Loos is talking in his dictionary with his words, Sullivan is listening in his dictionary and is able to answer in his words. And you have to turn these in a way that they match and get interesting links. And the whole stage play is about making a nice line in a certain dramatization. This is how it works. So take, for example, this. Takes too long. It's not good in an tutorial. But simply say Loos is on that. Answer of Sullivan. So you have the link to the original. And by that, you're writing your drama. Good. I think you got the idea. And now it's up to you to set up persons. So I would say, in this case, I would continue with Adolf Loos, primary protagonist, Sullivan, and then Gottfried Semper. Gottfried Semper is the orthodox guy fighting. So it just if we are in these setups with these kinds of here, we have Ornament and Verbrechen. So Semper would flip it. So he likes the Ornament because it's not a crime. It would be a crime the other way around. But it's complicated. He's older, and we have to analyze it as well. But I think Semper is the orthodox. Yeah, something like that. The historians will kill me. That's it. So the last thing you should introduce is a chorus for a good drama. But I think so if you have, I think, 3 of these protagonists, to make it adequate for a drama, you need a chorus. It needs a common sense. Which is somehow taking the voice of your audience. So in this case, I would say it might be Christoph Alexander, Piquant, maybe that's it. Maybe Mies van der Rohe with his form with less is more. Yeah, then Christoph Alexander and then François Piquant. So I will collect a small library with all of them, and if I find time after Christmas, I make you a final small tutorial about results. But I think you get the idea how to work with these tools, and how to develop a small text of a few pages which is interesting and which has proper links into the culture of our profession. Thanks for watching, and hope you like it. See you.